All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the June Water, Sewer and Engineering Committee meeting. For quick attendance, we have Maggetto, Dan Bulkey, Town Supervisor Aaron Cassidy Dorian, Elena Finnan, Deb Harris, and Cameron Stepwell. And I will take a motion to approve the committee meeting minutes from last month, which was May 1st. Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Minutes are approved. And we'll move into town attorney's items.
Like there's two fence easement agreements?
Yeah.
Or fence and shed. I know the Downing Street one. I have that one. I've spoken with the other one.
Karen, both of those.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on an official sketch of that second one, so.
But they're both drainage easements.
No, the Red Oak one is a sanitary sewer.
Right over the sanitary sewer.
What
I think you're gonna add something.
Okay.
All right, engineering.
Engineering, Clark had put together a request for proposal for a drainage study of the Plum Street area. It's been an ongoing area of study. Cameron's been out doing GPS work, locating the catch basins and pipes, updating the mapping. I believe they had about 6 or 7 proposals. They're reviewing them right now, and there'll be a recommendation prior to the board meeting to award a contract for the study. It'll be to look at the existing drainage in the area and try to make any improvements that will help with any of the flooding that we see in some during certain storm events. It's been an ongoing issue for many years. So this will be sort of the first project, trying to set up a model going forward, finding areas where we have drainage issues and going out and getting proposals and moving forward and addressing each issue as we go through the town. I'm going to recuse myself from any recommendations because I have relationships with 2 of the companies that have put in proposals, but Dan and Cameron will be working with Clark to come up with a company that they're happy with. And I'm confident that everybody will be coming up with a good group of people to work with and hopefully move forward and maybe even future projects for the drainage. The next is it's an update we discussed in the meeting many months about drainage concerns along Van Antwerp and Knott Street, the wetlands behind the town library. There's been some work done by the owner of the apartments up at the top of the hill to help alleviate some of the issues. And there's been a request to do some work with the town culvert underneath Knott Street. We put together a letter to DEC or an email requesting some guidance, and we'll work with them once we get some feedback and see what the next step would be.
Are the residents who have been coming to speak aware of the updates?
I believe
the pictures,
Yeah.
the email that just said that we got it here.
Just in all working with them.
Yeah. So we'll just keep it posted as we're.
water and sewer maintenance, just an update on the project, River Road for the water main replacement. We're still waiting on some information on funding sources on that, but the design is mainly done. We had a meeting with the CT Mail, and they're just looking for some last minute final comments from us. I think we're gonna have something back to them by the end of this week or early next week, just to make any minor changes if we see anything that's necessary. But it's going to be dependent upon funding, whether the project goes out to bid this year or early next year.
Even if it goes out to bid this year, that we wouldn't start until spring. Is that the?
It depends on how early it goes out and how busy contractors are and if we can get them mobilized before the end of the construction season. And depending on the weather, you could have a big winter and we could work through the winter. Sometimes, yeah, but we'll see. They're gonna be doing, the idea is directional drilling for most of the work. So it'll be underground, you wouldn't see the, on the excavation.
We should probably, they're supposed to meet, I think, tomorrow about the FEMA project on Rosenau. So I'm just thinking, we'll make sure that they're not probably really annoying if they were going on at the same time. If in fact we do end up getting them. Even if they're not gonna use the main, which I hope they do.
Next, item is, permanent appointment of two maintenance workers, Tyler Rogers and Dylan Unser have worked for the town for just about a year. We're happy with them and I'd like to make them permanent. And that would require a resolution for both of them. Utility billing, we just had a conversation with Telus. I think we're moving forward. I think we're getting good feedback from them. And we have a little bit more work on our end to get them more detailed data out of our existing water billing software to try to help fine tune their numbers. But I think we're moving in a good direction, and I'm very happy with the information I'm providing so far. Yeah.
Yes. Great information, and I felt like we didn't give them enough, and they really did a lot with what we were able to give them.
Absolutely. So we've been offering the chance for property owners to get a second water meter in their homes if they have an irrigation system. If they would like to be billed separately for the water used for that irrigation, so that they're not charged for sewer on top of the water, because we know that that water is not entering our sewers. There is a cost to purchase the new meter, which they have to incur. And then they have to also hire a plumber to do whatever necessary plumbing changes that are needed for the house. We currently have we have to do a permit so we can track the work. We are charging for that permit to do the work. And I think there's been some discussion about possibly waiving the cost to do the permit for the interior plumbing work, not the cost for the meter, but just the cost for the inspection of the.
That's it, just the permit fee, and not getting rid of it entirely, but just giving everybody a couple years to like get it done if they want to get it done, since we did have such a big jump. And we don't anticipate that we're going to have a jump like that again, so we may as well give them the time to do it now, and if they're going to do it, and after that, well, we can go back to charging the regular fee. So,
this would require a permit or a fee change, so that we need a resolution.
I'm confused as to what the fee changes.
So
whatever it is, $45.
Aaron and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. So when the water rates went up, we had said if people wanted to get the second meter for their outdoor irrigation systems, they could. There's a building permit fee associated with that. So Aaron and I talked about eliminating that building permit fee. Yeah.
Pause on it, and I'm going to say, but
So no building.
It's not
permit
really a
fee.
change, you're not changing the amount, you're
no, just
waiving the fee.
Do we leave it or do we have to do a resolution?
They have to do a
Change the fee?
resolution to waive it.
Do we waive it or set the fees? Well, no,
If
you
you're
see
gonna
what I
waive it
have.
for a period of time, then do
Yeah.
a resolution saying, setting the period of time that it's gonna be waived for.
And I was thinking, starting July 1 and do July 1 to 2 years out, just keep it. I don't know, what do you think? I feel like I'm someone who would procrastinate about something like that, and I'd be like, oh, this my window.
I mean, I think if we do it even 1 year, then it's gonna give people an incentive to get it done and do it. And
It's okay with me, I just wanna make sure we're giving them a wish out. Yeah, especially since we can't pay for the meter, so we can at least help them this way, so then at least.
I mean, I think, especially since we recommended it, recommending that people get the second meter, charging for the second meter, and then, oh, hey, here's your building permit on top of it.
Yeah,
So-
and the fee for the meter includes a visit by the town to ensure that it is installed correctly. So that permit, that inspection's happening anyway, so we're not losing that inspection, we're not being compensated for it. So I think
What is the fee for the meter? It's 400 something. So
it's a 450, I think it's based on the cost of the meter itself. And then a little bit of time for your meter tech in the house.
then the permit's what, another 125, 120?
It's on the cost of the, it's on the cost of the work.
Sure.
I don't get involved in the interior plumbing, that's building, yeah, I do the outside. There's the threshold where it makes sense because you have to meet that injection water, pay. Yeah, pay back the cost of the meter itself and paying plumber to do the work.
Okay, so we'll get whatever schedule that's on, and we'll kind of, we just go back and amend it. Okay, we would just say, this is the fee and this is the time period that we're reading it.
Well, if we're not changing the fee, then we're just waiving it. That's literally it.
Okay, cool.
Are the people who already got a second meter gonna come to you and go, I want my permit fee back?
Maybe if they're paying attention, I don't know. If that's-
And this point, maybe closer to 5.
So here's what was
So why
happening.
don't we just do a resolution to go back on that? It's only
Absolutely fine with me. Maybe we do it for have the date start on the day that
the
we,
new water rates.
exactly. That's what I would say.
And then,
Or the date that the water rates went into effect. Through
August
next year.
31st next year. And then
Yes.
somebody,
Somebody give me that date. Like the resolution won't tell me what that date is.
that way nobody set this in.
How do we do refund? Or do we credit? It would be a refund, I guess, because,
It would have to be a refund.
yeah, they pay the building, they're not paying water and sewer.
I think a lot of the reason it was hidden is because they were paying for the plumber. The plumber was applying for the permit and wrapping that into the cost for the plumber. And then we had a resident came in that was gonna pay for the permit itself and then have somebody, a friend or something put the plumbing in. And they said, geez, you're telling us to do this and now you're charging us this fee. And I'm like, I didn't remember charging the fee.
Yeah, we need to do the permit so we track the work. There's no mechanism to waive the fee at this point.
Yeah, okay.
I think we'd still have to get the permit, right?
Yes.
And
Yes,
do it from the
there's no charge.
then we would have to do 2 resolutions, one to waive the fee and one to refund. Also,
Basically, we would make it retroactive to whatever date that is that Matt gives me, and then it'll give authorization for
thanks, Patty, that day.
any that were.
And then we can go and grab the list and just set some, okay.
All right, the next item, we have 2 utility bills that the customers are asking for change on the bills. First one is for 2476 Berkshire Drive. I was at the house this morning. The resident had a leak, rather large leak, which we went to the house and we found that they did have a leak. They did a repair, and we see that they actually did the repair prior to us going to the house. And but when we downloaded, we could see the consumption dropped in February. After they fixed it. But the nature of the leak was in the basement. It was going into the sump pump, which was going out to the street, not to the sewer. So we've done this before. If we were to take their water, the water went through the meter, so whatever went through the meter, we charge it to the water. And for the sewer, we've been in the past, we've taken estimates on the past sewer use, charging that amount because the nature of the leak did not include any increased water to the sewer.
Yeah, and that's sewer 6 too, right?
Sewer 6, yeah.
That
So
was-
it would be, their bill was for $1,226, and it would be reduced down to $778.
And we've done that for other people.
Yeah. But I went to the house personally to witness, to see what the nature of the leak was, just make sure. And then the other one is straightforward. It's 237 Mohawk Trail. We could not get a reading. We tried to read the roads. We went to the property and the meter, the display of the meter was corrupted. We picked a reading off of it. So we did an estimate based on the last 3 light cycles, but they had one cycle where they had a leak in the past, which skewed the total amount, which the leak's been fixed. So their bill went up as high as $751. So we looked at it, and if we were to take out the one, cycle where they had a leak and did the estimate, it would drop it to 495, but they don't want to look at that option, because they claimed that they were out of the house for 2 months, due to medical treatment out of the area. And they have receipts for hotel stays, and they want to see if the town would be willing to reduce their cost by 2 months of additional, 2 months less than what they paid
For sewer.
for water and sewer. This one, there's no leak, it was just,
No meter.
it was an estimated bill because of the meter being broken.
This is a weird situation.
It's very, yeah, they said it's not straightforward. So, I was okay with the 495 because they had a prior leak that they fixed, and it was still a valid estimate, but they wanted two
Less than
additional months off. But I don't, we've done it before.
I don't think that happened. I mean, I'd be okay with the 495 too, with the 2 additional. I mean,
Okay, so what would we be worried about? Mostly setting precedent. They do have evidence that they were gone for the 2 months. So are we envisioning this is gonna happen again? Probably not. We don't have a whole lot of estimated meters, right?
We try not to, we try to get to them as soon as we know. We tried everything we could do to get a reading off of this meter. We looked at it, and all the digits are lit up. So if you look at it at any different time, the number's different, and so I don't trust the numbers coming off of the screen. And that's one of the few times that I don't trust the numbers on the screen because they're garbage and it won't download, so we can't get a reading off of it.
Such a weird situation. I can't imagine it.
I just, I mean, even if it does sort of set a precedence, how often is it gonna happen?
I guess I'm wondering though that, okay, it's based on estimates. I don't want people coming with estimated amounts and then saying, oh, who's going for? So that would be the only thing I would be.
So I'm just gonna speak up, not for nothing, but I mean, Matt, you've seen receipts or whatever, but I don't think the people who are making the decision have seen them, so.
I have not seen.
Oh, you haven't seen them?
They're
I mean, you definitely don't do it without proof,
offering to provide them.
I would say,
I would say we need them for sure.
yeah. If you're considering it, definitely don't do it without proof.
Okay, let's,
I guess, tell me again, so the 495, but what was the additional 2 months for? Because they incurred hotel?
They were not in the house.
You're saying not to use the average because they weren't in that.
Is that what about?
So let's reduce the average by 2 months.
what does it drop it to?
I don't have that number in front of me, but it's.
We just do a monthly based off of 10 months and then times 6.
That's what we did that just to see what the number was, but I don't have it with me.
Okay, can't be that much of a reduction. 495.
You're saying it should be average of 10 months instead of 12?
I thought you had 3 years of averages.
Yeah, but 3 cycles, yeah.
So
Three-
so you're right.
months.
Slow cash, man.
Such is the share. We're all meeting. Tell us. So we're big, it's
That
basically.
would be 351.77. So
On top of
Or
the
any
4.
of that.
taking the 400 down to 351, 495 down to 351.
So yeah,
Send in the
send them the quotes on that, yeah.
conversation about.
And like, we're not gonna do anything with proof anyway, so.
And I mean, saying that they're, I'm not saying that anybody's like lying or anything, I'm just saying like, what's, is it like fully gone for 2 months or is it like intermittently gone for 2 months? You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's
I mean, even, and I'm not doubting at all, just to justify our decision that,
right.
that, so.
I think that's fair. Okay, wastewater plant. Just a standard, update on the organic waste program. We're still receiving 2 trucks a day. And pretty smooth, haven't had any issues at all.
From Chobani.
For Giovanni, yeah. And that's on top of the green stuff.
Septic
Yeah,
colors.
that the colors that we're getting. Haven't had any complaints. Happy with the receiving of the waste. Nothing with traffic complaints and questions, and the drivers have been following the rules, so I'm happy about that.
How many additional trucks a day are we getting? Additional
You know how many we're
Chobani
getting?
trucks?
Maybe another 1 or 2, probably from
3 or 4 a day.
the grease trap
Traffic's
haulers, yeah.
It's pretty good.
I've been in contact with Kevin Walsh too about cutting down some of that trim, which I think is like the last piece of,
I've noticed that corner needs to be mowed.
it needs to be mowed and needs to be cut back, like we need like a brush hog through there or something.
Yeah,
There's no
it's
visibility.
pretty high.
Right, up around the bend.
That's what he has been saying. He
Right.
was asking us to make the road a
Make it
little
wider.
wider so you could see, but that cuts into parkland and we just don't want to get into.
But at least cutting back all that
Violating
brush
the-
there would make
Exactly. I mean, there's no, it's not trees, it's brush in between like very small trees. So I
We've done it
think-
before. It's
Yeah.
just-
since you cut back.
Yeah.
So, and the highway's just been busy, so it hasn't been there.
The next item is purchasing gas equipment. We had this on, like gas testing equipment, we had it on last month. And the price was $12,412. But we found a comparable unit, which it's gonna be delivered anytime now. We're gonna do a demo with it. That's gonna be $6,863, so it's quite a savings. We think it should be a good option, but I just wanna make sure before we say yes.
Resolution.
It'll be finance, yeah. If we keep it at 12, it'll be reso, but most likely finance from everything we're seeing. So we called for the public hearing for the use of the repair reserve money. I just didn't know, so the next step would be to do the actual hearing. Whatever information is needed for that, just let me know. You need anything?
I think.
We just have to put it out.
Okay. Okay.
That was
It's in the public hearing, yes, yeah. Okay,
So we're gonna have the public hearing this month, and then it's gonna have the resolutions on. Are we gonna wait?
Okay. So before you do the
Do
resolution.
the resolutions the same night?
I'm okay with that.
It's gonna issue with it.
So if we do have the public hearing and the board has a vote then after the public hearing, we use the repair reserve, right, correct? And then,
And we can always. Yeah, we have to go then. It's
Yeah,
not- it's not-
it's not a-
yeah.
so assuming that passes, then I have resolutions that spending that money
Right,
down below.
right.
Yeah, that's what the next items are.
That's
Yeah. So I have quotes for the sludge dryer repair work from a contractor and 2 contractors for the total cost is going to be split between 2 contractors because of the type of work. One's going to do some of the mechanical work and the other one's going to do some of the more proprietary modifications and programming of the unit. So there's 2 contracts there, which I can provide all the information to Elena.
Matt, I don't mean to interrupt you. So we're gonna have the public hearing regarding the repair reserve use. Then
The resolution.
E, F, G, and H is all one resolution, right, to authorize the expenditures at.
So there's like the part of a resolution that would make sure we're in compliance with our own purchasing policy, but then there's the one resolution that just approves basically what the public hearing is on for.
Okay, gotcha. We're gonna do what the public hearing is on for, and then do separate resolutions for the actual expenditures.
And based on timing on whether or not I can get enough votes in, not all of these may make it to the meeting, so we'll get the approval to spend the money for the
And then we can
overall
resolutions on
reserve,
the
and
expenditures.
then, yep. But my plan is, if I can, do it all once, get it moving. So the next item would be the secondary clarifier skirt repair. That's gonna be two contracts to, one is purchasing the materials from the supplier, from the manufacturer of the clarifier, and then another one to hire a contractor to do the work. Which I have two quotes for the labor already, and the materials are sole source letter from the supplier on that, for the actual manufacturer. And then this is a bit out of order. H is another one of the items that is funded by the reserve. I was talking to Kara about possibility and options and how we award a contract for that type of work. And I don't have had a chance to do any.
Talk to Elaine,
Okay,
the dollar amount, it was an RFP.
RFP or sealed bids.
I don't remember what the dollar amount is. It's over.
Do we want to say it on a public meeting, just because if it is
We
an
can talk
RFP?
about it after.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, I just don't want to give someone a number so that they can bid against it.
Either way, with an RFP or a sealed bid, is that gonna be back in time to be awarded for the meeting, do you think?
This month.
I
Possibly.
mean, it could be if you do it
Yeah, if
soon.
it's an RFP, I probably can.
Service,
Yeah,
that's why.
wasn't that like is that the service?
Yeah.
It's a combination
Energy.
of labor, yeah, it's a combination of labor and then materials. To do that work.
So-
Yeah, that's on my theory.
Probably would be a sealed RFP. I mean, it's the same idea, but if it's a little bit more. It's a little bit like specific to us, you might want to do an RFP versus bids. I mean, either way, you could do it as sealed. You know what I mean?
Okay. It's just the level of specifications necessary. We make it,
It should be the same.
okay. Let's see what else. I did leave off on there too. One of the items that was mentioned as for the public hearing too is purchasing and installing the new media for the hydrogen sulfide scrubber. That was one of the other items on that list.
Say it again.
The
Purchasing and installing.
purchasing and installing hydrogen sulfide scrubber media.
And that's based on the public hearing.
Yes. And what else was there?
Plant mechanic.
Yeah, so we've done 2 interviews so far. Got a couple other applicants that we're trying to schedule interviews on. I already feel like if we didn't have anyone else that we could interview, we have a good candidate already. And we're just looking to see if there's anyone better than one of the ones we've already interviewed. So regardless, I'll have a name for the town board meeting, and we're very happy with the one that we did talk to already, one of the ones we talked to already, so if you would fit right in. Water plant, looking to purchase a mower to mow the grounds at the plant and also the water tower site. This would be often as a state contract. And the price, just about $85,000. I'm sorry.
So why is that
No.
finance?
Like the picture of the mower.
I try to.
Great Lord.
As big as I can, reading having to wear my glasses, but $8,500. Sorry. My lights are off too.
That sounds better than finance.
Yeah, so that would be finance, $8,500. And then. Recycling landfill, Deb's been working to try to get a company to come in and do shredding. The one that we wanted, that we used for all the last 5 years or so, Jason, the one we like, that Pro Shred, they went up quite a bit. And yeah, it was more than double than what we've been paying. So I think,
More than double what it was a few months ago.
no, what we've been paying up to last year. Yeah. I think it was
We can use some Center Road fields. 'Cause they're correct.
Bonfire?
That's what I said. I'll learn about it.
So,
Fall.
so I think we have one company that can do it for, which is $700.
It's $250 per hour and $10 per hour for fuel charging. You just add it together. So it'd be like $780 for 3 hours.
We paid 500 for 3 hours for the truck. And it went to 600 and they cut it down by 1 hour last year. Now they want over at 1,200. I don't know what, yeah, it just don't, and it's not, I mean, I don't understand, nothing really changed in the last year, but I think they might have been
And that
purchased.
company that I talked to was 3N Document Destruction.
They do a lot of banks and hospitals, I think.
You use them at a town level too.
We have, like, banks have shredding spots for customers and stuff too,
I
right?
think they usually bring them in.
No, like when I walk in my bank, they have
Oh.
a bin that you can just drop your,
I think places like 3M County Rec, they get those bins.
soon, like they're already shredding stuff. in the
Yes,
banks,
oh,
so
I
they-
see what you're saying, yes.
I'm just saying, if,
Trust anybody.
I am too.
well, I think that's the appeal, right, is that.
So the dates that they did have available.
Yeah, they had 4th of July weekend, which wouldn't work. But then they said July 12th or July 19th. Is that the Saturday? Yeah. And then they were booked all the other weekends, and that was as of the end of last week. So I
Do
mean,
we want to try July 12th and do try to get like, the electronics, we can just have them pick it up whenever, we can just. take it
Electronics,
wherever.
we'll leave the interrupter and then.
Alright, let's double check that they still have it, and then
Okay.
if they don't, we'll do the 19th.
okay,
I
so
never have
I'll shoot
anything.
for the 12th first, and then if they don't, I'll do the 19th.
Nobody has any, we just gotta hunt down some volunteers, basically.
This is the 13th or the 12th?
It's the Saturday. I kept saying the wrong day.
Oh, okay, good.
It's whatever the Saturdays are. Yeah.
Punch card refunds.
So those are all done because the cutoff was the 30th, and we had a total of $954.50. And those checks will get mailed out tomorrow.
Thank you.
One thing just before we adjourn, we need a plan of action for cleaning up the transfer station area. I don't know what's going on over there, but there's like some weird, and like somebody put an old trash can there, or maybe it was ours, but it's just kind of there. So I don't know what the answer is. If we have to, there is money left in that account that we could use to clean up the area. I don't have any, I can't remember what we said we were gonna do with it besides trash some of the stuff that was.
I didn't want to. On site. So
Right, exactly.
we need to back up behind the gates. I think we-
More like the fencing and like, I feel like if we could get everything down and just leave the two structures there, we might be okay. I think we just need a day.
once we get the gate down, yeah, once we get the fence down, we're gonna have people coming onto the site, so we need to know what we, yes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
We need like I don't, you guys tell me, I just don't wanna, especially with baseball, people have been around there all the time, so I'm sure they're probably looking at it like.
yeah, and I drive by it. I just don't know what the long-term goal is, because I know there's been some,
For right now, it's buttoning it up, so it's safe and doesn't look horrible. That's the goal for right now. I can involve Ray in that too, to see. Like we talked to him about this, he was gonna move one of
he
them.
wants to
right?
go back, yeah. And then he was gonna take one of the roll-up containers to have at the highway garage.
Yes, okay. Okay, so I'll follow, I'll put you guys both on the same email, it's funny to figure that out. That's all that.
Has there been any discussion on like long-term plans for that? That's not,
No, it is zoned, as landfill. It's part of like that back piece. We would have to rezone it, and if you rezone it to parkland, you can get it again, so not that we would want to go back necessarily, but then it just removes options. So for now, I think while we stabilize some things, we'll just,
Either way.
I mean, I'm sure baseball would love to use the space and the, what you call it, storage sheds if we were gonna leave them there, so we could talk with them about, I know they have ideas, but I know also that it's new, and so let's just let it sit and marinate for a second.
But
Yeah.
so clean it up, make sure it's safe. Doesn't look terrible from the road.
Because the back portion of the landfill is used by disc golf though, as a recreation,
So if you look at the lot lines,
Yeah.
it's like carved out.
just for disc golf, really?
So it, technically, the entryway, because water and sewer was there, the entryway going in is zoned as landfill because it's the road to the landfill in the back. So it carves around and like just gets that little section. It is, it is very strange. It must have been when they closed the landfill and then did the transfer station, that's how they did everything. I'm assuming they did that on purpose because you can't, it's very difficult to get it out of Parkland once it's there. So I feel like let's just pause and figure out. I think probably DEC might have some rules about what it can be used for. I don't know. I don't know if it's just transfer if they care or
It's not on garbage. The garbage that's on the ground
is up
is
further.
further up.
But like if it used to be a transfer station, there's no like safety issues with that through
I'm sure
DEC.
that like soil testing or something.
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. It's designated differently than the landfill. So like if you go through the list, not that I absolutely went online and just like looking at all of these landfills and like how they're all positioned and we have like a separate designation. So like, I know, so, so sad. So I don't know, but I guess I'm like, I don't have a great idea and I think it's a weird space. So I feel like we should just leave it and
I think once we start talking about plans for that space, we're gonna get a lot of people jumping on it and wanting to talk, wanting to negotiate and come up with agreements. And I think let it sit for a little while, make sure it's safe, doesn't look terrible from River Road and
Yeah, and whatever level of demo you want done. Because there's a roof there that goes over the compactor, which is certainly,
there's containers
Yeah.
and all it. So it's like just a cleanup day. But we just have to do it and we have to figure out what's gonna be a safety issue as far as like it's sort of a drop off there. So how
yeah,
it's great.
figure it out.
The wall. I mean, how can we like take the fence down because it's already half down?
we
It's
can,
so
it just,
bad.
a windy day. So,
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's already half down, so get rid of it because it doesn't look weird from the road. But then how can we secure that area?
that's my concern. I just want to make sure that once we take that down, then people will migrate across it and kids will cross it to get from place to place.
So we need a temporary safety solution and then we can figure out what to do with it. It's just a weird spot. So I don't have an answer for you. I just know it looks gross. You agree. So there you go. Okay, that's a problem for another day. That's all I have.
I had something else and all day I was thinking that I wanted to talk about it in this meeting, and now I have no idea what it was. 954, maybe that's my question.
More than I have.
In 50 cents.
But she said $954, something like that. It's like thousands and thousands for water meters.
I mean,
All these building permits, we're gonna lose like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They really have a tender for that extra meter.
It's probably not even that high, yeah.
Is there, we have to figure out if there's a
That's right.
designation between builds.
They were coming out of like, and one had just one card with $12 left on it.
Saying the prices
Okay.
on moratorium, it will be for new builds too, so we have to designate that,
It would, well,
because it's meter installation.
no, it's not, it's an internal plumbing. Interior
Okay.
plumbing permit.
Okay, so we just need to be clear in what we're waiving it for.
We have to be waiving the fee for interior plumbing for the installation of a secondary meter.
That's what we
Yeah,
need to
you
make
have to be
sure.
clear
Alina
with
just
that,
had
yeah.
that language so that we're not getting ourselves into trouble. I mean, at least the 954, all we did was take it right out of the, that we've collected, so it's just, at least it was there. Okay, I gotta think through what we get to do. This thing. These are some kids. Okay.
I have, July first, I think we all talked about that.
Yeah.
I will not be here. No, sorry about that.
Oh, that's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's the.
It's
Tuesday.
a weird month, so you could theoretically do it on the 8th because the agenda meeting isn't until the following week. So depending on if you
Hang
guys
on
have
one
things
second.
scheduled, if we end up having an attendance issue, then we can move it if we need to. We've got a little flexibility.
I'm out of town one of those weeks to do something, but. Well, it's the end of the month I'm out of town.
What?
It's the end of the month that I'm out of town,
Oh, okay.
probably
So-
for the regular town vote, yeah, actually.
So it's sort of like,
But we can do either the first or the 8th.
Whatever works for you.
You got the first down, so let's go with that.
Okay.
What's everybody? July 1st at 4:30. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
sure.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Oh, you gotta.
Still live, trying to.
Second.
Thank you.
I can do that.
Keep them back, there we go.
You know what?
Go. And
That's a genius.
Okay.